have worked from across, and if it was left to Kenyans, I don't know how this is going to go. But it's left to the members of parliament, and those hypocrites in the National Assembly are going to impeach the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on Tuesday. I call them hypocrites because for the last 2 years, these members of parliament have never called out the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. They've not even come close to censuring him in the National Assembly for all these things they're supporting right now that are included in this motion of impeachment. They're hypocrites because when Kenya was getting here, when the Deputy President, for example, was getting here, amassing that wealth, violating the Constitution, grossly misconducting himself, no one of them spoke. And now they have coalesced around an agenda brought by Mwenge Mutuse, and they are going to impeach the Deputy President. Take it to the bank. On Tuesday, they are impeaching the Deputy President. His hope is in the Senate, not even in the judiciary. Because once the Senate confirms this impeachment, the Deputy President will go. So the reason why I'm here this morning is because I said by Friday, the Deputy President will resign. And by Friday, he has made up his mind. He is going to resign. He is going to resign before the impeachment motion is discussed in the National Assembly. This gives us 2 days, Sunday or Monday. And my point today is this. The government side of the president now, of the President William Ruto, not of the broad-based government, has to start preparing to fight fire, damage control, crisis control, because what the Deputy President is going to do, owing to this fact, and I always like to give a chronology of events. Now, in the last 3 weeks alone, the Deputy President has given more media engagements, interviews from Citizen Television, where he banned the bridge, to vernacular stations, to the last one that I think he gave on Tuesday this week. He has given more media engagements than any other time in the last 2 years in just less than 3 weeks. So he will do the last act, and the last act is this. He is going to hold a press conference, a live press conference, Sunday or Monday, just before he resigns. Because the reason why I'm saying he will resign is because he has political ambitions. He wants to be the president of this country at some point. He may still want to be governor or member of parliament. But if you're impeached, you can't be any of that. So because he has political ambitions, he is going to resign. He will not wait for this impeachment. And this impeachment is happening, regardless of the feeling of people, what people are saying on the ground. That they should, both of them, go. That there are pressing problems in this country, which I agree with, that the presidency needs to address. But this is a political process. Let it happen. Let us stretch our constitution to the logical conclusion and see what it can do for us. So, now that I've told you why I think anaenda kuchoma, kuban, then he's going to go away. He's going to hold a press conference, and he is going to indict this government in a way that we've never seen before. He is going to choma properly. Remember, he's alluded to it. He said that if you do this, I will say this. Once he does that, he will table his resignation. And he will go and try to reinvent himself. Because I don't see the Senate serving him. Now, dealing with 47 or all the 60 plus members of the Senate is easier than even dealing with the National Assembly. Remember, the National Assembly is not the trial house. The trial house is the Senate, where they will go charge by charge, accusation by accusation, until the last one. So what is my point today? These hypocrites are going to impeach the Deputy President. The other thing is that the Deputy President is going to ban anaenda kuchoma in a press conference. Then Monday or Tuesday, just before he's impeached, he's going to resign. But President William Ruto can still save the situation. He can call his troops off. He can call the members of parliament off. That is one thing that can happen. Or, now that Central Kenya members of parliament are freaking out left, right, center and trying to withdraw from this motion, they don't want to own it, the deputy president can marshal numbers. I wonder how. But if it goes the way it's going, Choma, resign. Let them deal with it after that. But he's going to Choma. Choma about what? Everything that we don't know in this government is going to confirm. But remember, he's not the only one who can also speak, because even this other side can speak the way they're speaking through that petition. But let's watch. Sunday, Monday. If he waits for impeachment, he's being impeached, and that's the end of his political life. The end of his political life, if he's impeached. Does he have ambition? Will he want to still run for an office? Yes. He's pretty young. He'll not wait to be impeached. He will resign. Monday, Tuesday. Today, Friday. His mind is made. He is going. These guys are going to impeach him. Believe me, he exercised. They are going to impeach him.
People say we're distracted. What they are saying is that they have short memories. That's what it means. Or they cannot multitask. They can't do many things at the same time. But that's what being human is. Even when you are seated, there are 1,001 things that cross your brain, not just one, crisscrossing your brain. You know, it may not be in any order. And where you are, there are so many things you are doing at the same time. So to say that people are distracted is actually to deny our very, very being as people. Having said that, Pipita, I don't understand why we're a society without memory. Memory is important. You see, I speak and then some people say history doesn't count. Pipita, there is no society where history doesn't count. No, people say, no, we don't want history. No, how do you move forward if you don't want history? You can't. You will be out to do something that no society has ever done before. You say, no, we just want to move from here and going forward. History we don't want to know. No. That's reductive, it's myopic, and it's self-defeating, to put it mildly. Pipita, when William Ruto was deputy to Uhuru Kenyatta, people used to tell me, this guy is not qualified to be president. And I would tell them, but are you listening to yourself? You are not listening to yourself. You want to tell me that somebody who is the deputy president of Kenya or of any country, US, whichever, that individual is only qualified to be a deputy president, but not president. So what is that person doing in that number 2 position? What is that person doing there? If they're not qualified to be president, what are they doing in that position of deputy president or vice president? And that's why, where things are clear, it's almost natural that the deputy will succeed the president, because nobody appoints somebody who is not qualified to replace them in case something happens to them. Nobody, unless you're too selfish, you're too self-centered. You cannot afford to appoint your deputy who will not assume that job you're doing any day, any time, if something was to happen to you. But in Kenya, Pipita, we can have deputy presidents who are not qualified to be president. That's weird. That's a Kenyan peculiar way of doing things. So when people will tell me, no, William Ruto is not qualified to be president, I'll tell them, no, you're deluded. He is qualified to be president by the mere fact that he is now a sitting deputy president. Well, they say, no, it can't happen. He's too corrupt and stuff like that. Well, as we speak, he's the president of the Republic of Kenya. Now, I hear people say, and I will stand my ground, because if I'm convinced, I know exactly where we were, that conversation about whether William Ruto was qualified or not. We're exactly where we are now. So people who are saying that Rigathi shouldn't be impeached, they are not reflecting on the possibility of Rigathi succeeding William Ruto as president of the Republic of Kenya. That would be a disaster. Just as we are in this same disaster, that would be a disaster. He does not have any qualities to be a president, but he's a heartbeat away from a president. Now, it means we have not learned anything from history. We haven't. So, to move somebody who is not qualified to be president away from the presidency and split open that position is actually in the best interest of the country. We may not know who is going to deputize Ruto or whatever, whether that person will be as awful as Ruto or whatever. We may not know. But what we know is that the person who is currently deputizing William Ruto does not have the qualifications to be president. Why do we tolerate that person there? And then later on we say, oh, what is happening? The same cries we're making now. Now. We're going to make them tomorrow. Yes. Because if Ruto, something was to happen to him tomorrow or now, who is going to be sworn in as the president of the Republic of Kenya? Who? Why do you entertain the notion of that person being very close to the apex power in the country? Oh, the both of them must go. I mean, you are saving the country by removing one of them. You are actually saving the country by removing one of them, pushing them as far away from this apex office as possible. You are actually saving the country. But because memory doesn't count in our society, history doesn't count, we keep making the same blunders year in, year out, election after every election. And it's very problematic. It is. It's a very problem. So if Uhuru Kenyatta had impeached William Ruto, we would not be having William Ruto today. We don't know who we would be having as president, but clearly we would be having problems, but they would most likely not be on this magnitude, on this scale. Yeah, we will be having problems because there's no magic kind of performer or messiah who would have helped us to overcome these challenges because they are long-standing. But you can bet they wouldn't be as intense as they are if only Uhuru Kenyatta had the courage to impeach William Ruto. Yes, or taken him to court and the courts found him guilty for whatever charges they were accusing of corruption and what. He didn't do that. He didn't do that. Well, here are the consequences. We're paying the price, aren't we? We're paying the price. So what is this weak-kneed lack of courage to take decisions? When history teaches us that failure to take decisions when it matters, you're going to pay the ultimate price down the road. What is it? We don't learn from history? We don't have memory? We don't have courage? Are we so hopelessly divided that we can work against our own collective interests? Are we so hopelessly divided? Are we like, individuals who are hell-bent on inflicting pain on ourselves? And then we start finding out what happened. Just from a logical perspective, I want to be explained to the logic behind entertaining somebody who is supremely unqualified to hold the office of the president, holding number 2 position, where we are, as we speak, paying the ultimate price for not taking action when it mattered most. For a sitting president not taking action when it mattered most. I don't get it, Pipita. I don't get it. We don't learn from history. We don't learn from history. We don't have memory. And that is going to work against us into the future. You don't have to be a prophet. If Rigathi was to become president of Kenya, that's a disaster. You don't have to be a prophet. That would be a disaster. It will be. And then we come on the space, we said also, raising issues, what's happening here? Okay, who are we going to blame? Who are we going to blame? It is weakening the weak Ruto administration. It's weakening that administration. If they cannibalize themselves, if they break up into factions, they're weakening themselves. Instead of us taking advantage of that, we're helping them to consolidate, to come together and continue working together until 2027. And then we think that by 2027, we'll have some formula, to push them out of power. I mean, how can we be so deluded like that? How can we be so deluded like that? Instead of taking advantage of the factions and divisions this impeachment motions and stuff like that. Yes, we had gone to the streets. I mean, they responded high-handedly with state violence. Now, they're cannibalizing themselves. Let them go ahead. Let them go ahead. Let them send one another packing. That will weaken it, will weaken the administration. And that paves the way for us eventually getting rid of that administration and possibly with the entire institutions. Peter, I don't know, you can respond to me or somebody else. I don't get the logic. I just don't get the logic from where I'm sitting. I don't get it. This is pretty much where we were between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. This is where we are. Two people not qualified to hold the office of the president. They have held it. We're paying the price. Now we have also two people not qualified to be president, but we're saying we want to defend the one who is there, number two. They should not get rid of him. Not get rid of him, so that we also pay the ultimate price tomorrow. Come on. Masochism. I don't know, psychologists call something like that. You are a masochist, somebody who inflicts pain on themselves, and they derive pleasure out of that, out of, inflicting suffering and pain on yourself. There's some perverse pleasure out of that. I think psychologists call them that. Are we that society? Peter, I yield. You can respond to me or something. I don't know.
Western, for me, I was hit down. So today I'm not going to speak. I was insulted with my family. And my mistake was just pointing out that we talk a lot from home. That's all. But it is a big issue when you come to look at the way we tend to defend ourselves. Look at the way people are defending Gachagua right now. This was the chance, as you say. Ruto was unfit as a president from the start. He was not fit to be the president of Kenya. You get, but here is where we are. Ivan.
His question is very, very good, but I don't want it to look like I'm dominating. So maybe
just answers.
Okay, yeah, I hear what my man said, and it's actually a very, very valid argument. I just disagree, and this is why. Because of the hypocrisy. A corrupt president cannot claim moral high ground to impeach another corrupt official, to impeach his vice president. That's hypocritical. The other issues like the self-interest. The president's motives for impeaching Gachagua are not based on ethics of what is right and what is wrong. It's for pure self-interest. He's aiming to eliminate his rival rather than actually to pursue justice. So this is a power grab. Then the third one is the lack of credibility. The president's credibility vanishes if he is also corrupt. No one is taking the impeachment seriously because it looks like a desperate move of politics. That's just the fact of the matter. Also, the other issues are the erosion of trust. Allowing a corrupt official to punish another official erodes public trust in government and institutions. It reduces the impeachment process to a weapon of convenience. If we're having an impeachment process, can we do it with regards to true belief in our constitution and what it means to uphold the law? And if we're to do that, then both of them must go. The other one, I don't know if I have more time, is it undermines the rule of law. The ideal of justice right now has been completely lost, because Gachagua is being impeached. But the other day when I was walking in Kileleshwa, when I was going for my jog, do you know who I saw? I saw John Waluke, the member of parliament who was sentenced to God knows how many years in prison. I saw him going on a jog just like me. So this thing cannot be, if I am a pig and I see a group of hyenas that have been eating my fellow pigs, I should now feel better because the group of hyenas kicked out one hyena. That should not make sense because they're still hyenas And the group of hyenas still exists. They've just isolated one hyena. Boo-hoo for him. And also the cycle of corruption, y'all. It sets a very, very dangerous precedent. When I was speaking to my friends in America, y'all, on Discord, I told them that the only reason why I can support Donald Trump getting presidential immunity is because your democracy was being relegated to a game of tit for tat. And that is very, very dangerous. Me personally, I cannot support a law or a practice that can be weaponized against me in the future. You know? Oh, I believe in, let's say, let's impeach Gachagua right now because the numbers are against him. I'm like, one day the numbers can be against you. You know? Look at all these dictators that have lost power. Did they ever think they were going to lose power? No. So we need to fight for processes and systems that are very, very ideal, that play to what is good for society and what is morally upright. Let's not relegate ourselves to tit for tat, because that can easily be used against us. Now we are Gen Zs in our 20s, but we might end up being in our 60s. What about while we are in our 60s, those in their 20s are now against us, and they have a loophole to weaponize against us because it's the same loophole we used to weaponize against those that were there before us. No, that's not the fight we're having. The Gen Z fight is about accountability, transparency, and justice. And playing the game of hypocrisy, for me, is not justice. Thank you.
I see Linus Aminom Konoju. Linus, what do you have to say to us?
Thank you so much, Pipi. Hope you're well. Let me first appreciate you for having this space. Let me also have my bite. I think on my end, today has been a success. If the political class thought that today they'll have a field day, then they've been left with a rotten egg on their faces. Because if you check the grounds they laid, I'm not saying Gachagua is good, but I also want to just take a bite on Western's question. To me, there's no difference. Even if they switch positions today, even if Gachagua were to be the president today, there's no difference. It's just the same. And that's why the call out is both must go. Let both go. Because if you say that Gachagua is unfit, or you say that if you argue that Gachagua is worse off than Ruto, then he's unfit in whose eyes? He is worse off in whose eyes? Because when we went for the elections, they presented themselves as a pair, and Ruto believed he picked the best to give him the votes and the best to help him serve. So if they have their skunk, let them roll on with their skunk till they finish. But if they're packing, then let both of them pack. One thing that I must point out is that there was a speaker who said earlier that we are losing track, that we are losing focus, that we are not gaining ground. I don't think if that is right. Because if you look at the activities of today, you will notice that I think from this moment henceforth, the members of parliament or the National Assembly for that matter, before they bring any article or any motion or any bill for public participation, they will think twice. Reason being, they expected today to be a field day. They expected today that they present the papers, that people will sign and move on, and they have it their way. Only for them to have an own goal, because to me that is what is it. In their face, if I'm a member of parliament, I will term this a blunder. Not that Gachagua is good, not that Gachagua is better off, but simply because they refuse to take into consideration issues or matters that affect the daily lives of the people. Because impeaching Gachagua is not a solution. I want to agree with the speaker who has just left the floor that whatever is going now is a political game. The political game is these elements are simply trying to eliminate one of their own who they see as an impediment from them attaining their own goal or whatever they want. And that's why they're eliminating Gachagua. And that's why you see ODM has mobilized their members to support the impeachment motion. UDA has been mobilized to support the impeachment motion because they still have that old thinking that with ODM, with Raila on Ruto's side, once they are on the same bed, then 2027 is safe and secure, which is very wrong because the tide has changed. I always tell my friends or my colleagues or every platform that I go to that whatever is going on in the country now, whoever is imagining that there is peace, that there is calm, is being delusional. Because whatever is going on, those of us who come from the sugarcane growing areas, once the sugarcane, if someone lights fire at the sugarcane field or on bagasse, it might rain heavily and you might think that the fire is gone. Kumbe underneath, there's a serious intense heat. And the moment the rain goes, the fire pops once again. And that is what is going on in this country. So my urge is what has been seen today must be kept burning. The pressure must increase because the political class must not be let alone to have their day. Earlier on, there was a member who said that the political class is being choosy on whatever they present for public participation. And I can guarantee you what we want to face now is the report of this public participation. Because if you check clearly, or even if you check on the major news lines tonight, you will notice that most of the papers were not signed. Most of the documents were not put into use. Some were discarded, some were burned, some were torn, some were thrown away. Now we want to know and we want to be keen on how they will collect this information that they collected today, because 90 or 95% of the views given were verbal. And if you run through all the clips across the board, you will notice that all the speakers, none of them spoke to the items of impeachment as enlisted in the document. Simply because what the people have done, the people have told the government that whatever you presented to us is not a priority to us. Whatever you presented to us today does not affect our lives. What we want are issues to do with our properties, Adani, the airport. You want issues to do with school funding, university. You want issues to do with hunger, addressed. You want issues to do with Melinda Mama, addressed. Those are the issues that affect us in our daily lives, but not the issue of impeaching the deputy president. Because it is better off, even if Gachagua survives or not, it doesn't make any change. There's no difference, even if he's impeached or he survives. Because nyani ni wale wale. What they want, they're playing their political games for their own gain. So my take is the citizenry have done a wonderful thing. They have taken back their country today. To me, it is a major gain. It is a major win because it's a public pronouncement all across the board that the days that things will be shoved up our holes are gone. The days that the political class will dangle carrot upon us and so that we fall for it, those days are gone. So the issue at hand now is how do we keep the momentum? Because there are so many still bills in Parliament, in the National Assembly, that are still going to come for public participation. But I can bet that they're going to think twice before they bring any document for that activity. If you check across board, people spoke in one voice that however much that you people are not okay with Gachagua up there, we do not care what you feel up there. We sent you up there to do 1, 2, 3. All we want is that you do for us the 1, 2, 3. And one major score that I like with the Gen Z and the millennials is that a leader emerges every day. If at all they went into, because if you check the Morara case at the Bomas, it is very clear that it was planned. It is very clear that there was a group that was mobilized to do that. It's very clear that they didn't want Morara to attend that public participation event. Yet it is open for the entire public. But then to their surprise, you notice that other young leaders, other young Kenyans come up and voice the concerns of the people with great eloquence and present themselves as though they had been there before. You see? So that's the major thing that I like with this movement, that anybody has the capability, anybody has the capacity, anybody has the ability to present the cases, to present the issues so eloquently and so clearly that anybody can get. So my take is we have to keep the momentum. We have to keep the fire burning. Someone will call it that we are being distracted. I don't think if that is the case, we can munch these things just as someone said, we can chew gum as we climb up the stairs, we can multitask, and the end of the road is very clear that either they go both of them or they serve both of them, but they will have a lot of pressure. My only question that I want to ask myself, or any lawyer who is here, is that, for example, the document or the matters that were presented for impeachment were never canvassed at all, save for very few isolated cases that people signed the papers. But the matters at hand were never canvassed today. It's like coming with a questionnaire. You give your respondent the questionnaire document, but then instead of responding to the questions in the questionnaire, they respond to their own questions. Now, how do you treat that? My question is, how will the National Assembly treat that? How will our courts treat that? Because the public participation, the essence of public participation is to get the views of the citizens that can aid in decision making. But here's a case where they presented their case, but then the citizens came up with another issue that was completely out of the subject matter and was not, whatever they presented was not deliberated on. So I don't know how the lawyers or the courts or how the National Assembly will handle this, because I don't consider this a public participation on the agenda item that they presented. But it was more of an outrage of the citizenry against the dictates of the system and the abuses of the system. So I think that's my bite. Thank you so much.
Asante sana kwa hiyo. Naona Gloria ameinua mkono juu. Gloria, do you have a response to Western Shilaho or a general submission into this?
Okay. Okay, whether it's a response or whatever, I just want to chime in with my opinion over that matter. So for me, the thing is, no one has ever refuted that this Gachagua has not done anything wrong. Especially for the rest of us who do not come from the Mlima. I mean, people felt, me being one of them, isolated. Because what I know in a democracy, people disagree, you go to the ballot, whoever prevails then becomes the leader of everyone, those who voted for them and those who did not vote for them. That is what a democracy is, where majority will have with the rule and the minority will have their say. But when you get there, you are serving everyone. But this is someone who from the word go came in and started isolating people with this shareholder kind of business, saying, oh, these people do not deserve. The same language he used in campaign, they've won, they continue. He's the same one who was saying, oh, maendeleo ilienda sijui Nyanza, as if Nyanza si Kenya, ama what is it? Don't we all pay taxes? That maendeleo should not go to other places. People go to the street. People die from all corners. If you look at those names, Kina Bisley Kamau, Kina Denzel, you'll find Kenyans from everywhere. Almost from everywhere. Who died for this cause? Yes, Raila goes there, betrays us. Okay, fine. In fact, for me, I'm not calling it a betrayal. He didn't betray anybody because he wasn't part of our movement to begin with. Simply what he did was to give Ruto, a lifeline when we had already put him down. So in that sense, let's say he betrayed Kenyans. He betrayed our vision. He betrayed a new Kenya. But not like us, the Gen Z movement or the Gen Zote movement in particular. So he goes there, yes, we've managed, wamefuta watu, wametoa the whatever. But then they come up again, wametoa ministers, then they come up again, zetu lazima zikwe. For me, that language of every other time, Call me a tribalist if someone wants to call me that, but I'm not going to be apologetic about it. That every other time we have to talk about Mulima interest, Mulima. It is everyone, the media, like the rest of us. We are not Kenyans. The Courier is not Kenyan. When will you ever talk about the Turkana interest? When will you ever talk about the coastal region? Like anything happens in this country, it's always, oh, what will Mulima feel? Zetu lazima tupewe hizo saba positions venye zilikuwa. Oh, Mulima this, Mulima that. I mean, for me, I'm so fucking tired of that kind of narrative because we are all paying taxes. We are all paying taxes. We are all in this country called Kenya. Kwani watu wengine, they are lesser beings. And therefore, it's that same narrative that again is following this thing that Gachagua cannot be impeached. That's what the truth is. We might hide under other things, but that is what the truth is. That Gachagua cannot be impeached because of, no, people. If we are saying we want a new Kenya, then there should be no sacrificial lamb. There should be no sacred cows. That we hatuwezi mgusa, yule hatuwezi gusa. No. When we are saying all of them are going down, when you get an opportunity to get one, hit that one very fast. It's the same thing with war. Unangojanga ati the enemy wakusanyike, wakue wengi ndo anze kushoot. See, they might just overpower you and turn the tide around. Si mmoja mwenye umeona, if anything, people play rule and divide in war. Uwa confuse, wasambaratike, and then you do what? Then you go for the kill. So here we have a chance to go for the kill with Gachagua. That is one person less. It doesn't mean we've forgotten about Ruto if Gachagua goes home. It doesn't mean we've forgotten about Raila if Gachagua goes home. It doesn't mean we've forgotten about all these MPs who are sucking our blood. If Gachagua goes home, it just gives us the courage as Kenyans kusema, hey, tumeweza kuimpeach mtu. Haya, Ruto sasa ingie, tuanze our own public participation. We want this Ruto gone. We want this Raila gone. It's to give us courage as Kenyans tuone inawezekana. Because we always think mtu lazima amalize aende. But this is an opportunity to change the narrative. Why aren't we taking it? Tunatakaje? Why aren't we taking it? Hyenas are fighting each other. Why are we taking sides in the war of hyenas? Sincerely, why would we want to take sides in such a war? Why? Kuna wachawi kwa boma yenu, kwa familia. Wachawi kawaida wanatembeanga pamoja. Wakienda kuroga wanaenda kuroga pamoja. Nyinyi wengine wenye mnarogwa hamjui. I've seen it. Kwa boma nyingine yenye father-in-law na one of the wives hapo wa son ni wachawi. Wanatoka differently. Moja anatoka msichana anasema niko na matanga kwetu nimeenda. 2 days later mbaba pia anapata safari. But huko mbele wanaenda wanakutana wanafanyia watu mabaya. Ile siku walikosana, si walisemana wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Sasa wachawi wamekosana, wanatoboana siri, wanapigana, wanauana. Wewe shida yako ni nini hapo ndani? Why not pray that it continues like that? Why not pray that waanguke? Why would you want to take us? Now you are protecting one of them. Okay. You think akirudi huko ndani acha kukuroga. Na we kumbuka una skills za uchawi. Unless sasa unataka kuja tufunze. Unless we want Gachagua to come and teach us his bad manners. That is what we are saying. Then we can embrace. Mimi sielewi kabisa. But I think I've had enough. Some of these things zinafanya mtu unakaa kwa kona unaangalia unasema kama ni hivi. Let me fold my hands. There's no new Kenya we are going to have. Kama ni hivi. Unajiuliza, will we ever get there? Hii safari. We have so many sacred cows. We have so many. And then we are so scared of difference. Jamani, democracy is about difference. Why are we scared of conflicts? Why? And because we are so scared of conflicts, that is why Raila always shakes hand. Na tunakaa tunanyamaza, maisha inaendelea. Because we are so scared of conflict. Watu wamepigana sana. nimeamua kusalimia sijui handshake. Those things come because we are so afraid of conflicts, to face differences. We are so afraid of them. Why? We can only grow through those differences. Politics is about competition. So now we are talking about goons. We are talking about what we are saying at your, let us not engage in politics. Tushajimwaya huko ndani. Remember, at first we started partyless. Now we are even with the parties. Tushajiingiza kwa hiyo ulingo. Itabidi tucheze huo mchezo. Itabidi, we are already in that political waters. Already we are there. So we'll have to play the game. We'll have to see what can work to our advantage. Say our political opponent is making this mistake. How will that work to my advantage? We'll have to see it through those lenses, because we've already gotten into the political waters. We've moved from the revolution, we've gone to, we want to remove these people via the ballot. Isn't it better wanze kuangusha moja na moja by the time unafika 2027 wameanguka to make your work easy? Isn't it better? We'll have to learn the political scape. Itabidi we go the long end. Itabidi we get that. Already we are seeing Morara anapigwa na viti. Mumeshaingia kwa hiyo politics yenye iko na goons. So next time Morara tena atasimama kwa kona venye alikuwa amesimama na rushiwa viti. Is that what we are saying? That is what we are going to do? That wewe pia utachukua kiti utarusha to protect yourself. You will stand hivyo in the corner venye analemewa anapia tuchague sasa. Are we in it or are we not in it? For me, wacha niachie hapo.
Asante sana Gloria, very good questions. We need to ask ourselves if you're in it or not. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned in to Home Run with PP. Comes to you each and every weekday from 4 p.m. all the way to 8 p.m. East African time. That is if I'm not having 20 listeners. If you like what I'm doing, Home Run with PP is supported by you, the listener. I know you are wondering why I'm not on my microphone. I'm busy setting up the studio. I'm going to share the photos of the studio before the end of the show. And of course, we are also dropping a new video before the end of the show. So there's a lot of things going on. If you like what I'm doing, there is a tip jar line 0721948229 to support. 3 minutes past 7 p.m. Last show of the week before we go into the weekend. How are you doing? Western Nakonomino Mkono Ju. Let me know what you guys have to say on this. Western.
Peter, I couldn't agree more with Gloria. I couldn't. Because I'm disturbed by this realization that we're a weak-kneed society. Weak-kneed. Democracy is not child's play. To transform people's lives as a leader, you must take tough decisions. The only problem we have is that we have got politicians who make very rational decisions with their personal interests embedded in those decisions. But all over the world, democracy entails taking tough decisions. If you have in your cabinet people who are not reading from your script, you fire them. You just fire them. Because you're not going to achieve your agenda. You won't transform people's lives. You won't bequeath those who will succeed you any admirable legacy. But what do we do in Kenya? We do a lot of talking. When it comes to decision making, suddenly we become lily-livered. How can we be that kind of a society? We cannot be that kind of a society at the same time hope that we're going to overcome these challenges that are bedeviling us left, right, and center. I'm saying courage. Courage is the number one virtue. It's courage. Somebody who has no courage, chances are that that person is immoral. Chances are that that person is unethical. Because, Peter, look, if you want to see that courage is the number one virtue, you stand for something even when you don't stand to benefit anything. You stand for something even when your life will be on the line. You will stand for it. That's courage. You defend someone when you know that person cannot give you anything. But contrast that with somebody who has no courage. They will side with power. Because when you side with power, you avoid retribution. They can't abduct you, they can't jail you, they can't take you to court. When you side with the power, they can buy you, they can give you money, deposit money in your account. They can give you a job. So you are immoral. But when you stand for justice, for truth, for the rule of law, you're not getting anything. And that's why courage is the number one virtue. The other virtues emanate from courage. So you even see your friends, those who are not courageous. You have got 1,001 stories to say about them. How they have done things that you don't know, how they have betrayed you. Those people have no courage. They have no courage. So they are immoral in that sense. So if we have to come up with a society that's anchored on values, on ethics, on morality, we must foreground courage, especially where conviction is being designed. That here we are supposed to be decisive and do the right thing. And what's the right thing? This person must be fired. What's the right thing? This policy will be implemented because it's in the best interest of the people of Kenya. It doesn't matter what business is saying. It doesn't matter what the Americans are saying. It doesn't matter what the IMF, that's courage to stand up to those institutions. So we condemn these institutions, but I'm afraid if we were to meet this institution, we'll take the instructions. We will take the instructions. Where you tell them, look, I'm not going to take your prescription because it's going to impoverish my people. It's going to pauperize my people. These policies, you can go to hell with them. That's courage. So I'm